Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MFSN, the Hub's fantasy football strategy show. Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I'm Dr. Dan Ratner, and I'm here today just with Ross the Boss.
Hey, everybody, Ross the Boss. No Casey Scheinfeld, just me and Dr. Dan Ratner. We're going to talk about running backs and who you should take and who you should stay away from. I'm excited. And after the show, we're doing a live fantasy football draft, 7:15, right? Eastern time?
7:15 Eastern, 4:15 Pacific. Yep.
Should be fun.
It should definitely be fun. And listen, we're a week away from the actual first game of the season. I'm not a huge fan of Thursday games in general. They're slop fests and it just is a mess, but it's still always exciting to get the season going. I can't
It's exciting.
wait.
I mean, I'm still like puzzled. Why are the Eagles playing in Brazil as a home game to start the season off? I mean, it's like, why Brazil? Like one of the most dangerous cities in the world they're going to. Security's like, they told them in Brazil, you can't wear green. And that's the color of Philadelphia because it's like a rival gang. So so none of the fans can wear green in Buenos Aires. I think that's where they're playing, right? One of those cities in Brazil. I don't know. But again, you can't even wear your team's colors there because it's so violent. Why are they playing there?
Well, I understand your point about Brazil in general, but I would say even more so just from a competitive edge. What are you doing to the Eagles making them play a home game in Brazil? I mean, that's not a home game, right?
No, it's a horrible flight game where you have to play in a foreign country, eat foreign food, and not sleep in your bed. So no, it's not a home game. No.
Yes. Now I will say Buenos Aires is in Argentina, so I want to make sure that we're accurate.
So they're playing in. I think they're
probably
playing
Rio.
Probably region. Yeah, probably Rio. I bet you're right. I'm sure it's not Brasilia, the capital, because no one lives there. But yes, I bet it's Rio.
That's right, and they speak Portuguese there. So far we're educating on Brazil.
Yeah, it's Portuguese. It's
South America.
A lot different than Spanish. So don't try to compare it. It's a lot harder.
Don't try to compare the two. But yeah. I mean, I listen. Obviously, the NFL is doing it to expand their reach, and it's a money thing. And I'm never a fan of putting money ahead of the players and the quality of the product. We got Albert Mariquin here with us. He says, good afternoon. It's good to see you, Albert. He says, I got a keeper question. I love that. I mean, I love keeper and dynasty the best. So Albert, fire away when you have it. Well, as soon as it comes up, we'll go to that. But Ross, we're talking about running backs.
Yep.
And obviously most people are doing their drafts around now if they haven't already. And so we've talked about this. You and I are both on the same page with this. Casey, I think, is a little less this way, but I think all three of us are pretty much here that wide receivers are generally much more valuable than running backs because there's committees, there's injuries, there's not a lot of bell cow running backs anymore. But we're going to talk about tiers. Can you take me through who's in your top tier of running backs? How many do you have?
So, it was hard for me. I was looking at it like, I know we like tiers. I'm putting 5 in my tier. I know you think it's too much, but I'm just saying 5 because I feel really strong about these 5 that they're all going to have really, really good years. And if you can grab one of these top tier guys, it's going to help your fantasy team a lot. And of course, number 1, McCaffrey, when he's healthy, he's the best running back in the game. Remember last year, he had a touchdown, like every week he had a touchdown, receiving, rushing. I mean, this guy's just the beast. And so
he's also basically stayed healthy recently,
Yeah, and last year he stayed healthy. It's just, again, we'll pretend everybody's going to stay healthy the whole year, so I won't say it anymore. So McCaffrey's 1. Everybody loves Breece Hall. He's a Jet, and I get it. He'll get the volume. I think you got to put him in tier 1. I don't love the guy just because he's a Jet, and I don't trust the Jets, especially in fantasy. Because when was the last Jet that had a great fantasy year? I mean,
it's Breece Hall.
Breece Hall. But right. I mean, I just feel the Jets franchise. I don't know. I don't
trust the Jets franchise either. But I will say this: Breece Hall's already done it. I've seen him do it, and I've seen him do it on the Jets. Yep. So I trust him. I have him number 2. So far, our order is.
So we're 2 for 2. My number 3, you probably won't agree, but I'm going to say it because last year he was banged up. This year he's healthy, and they have a pretty good team. They're expected to win like 10, 11 games. Or the Indianapolis Colts. Jonathan Taylor, just because of the volume and he catches the ball, and I think he's going to have a big year. It's just something I have a feeling about.
I have him 4th. I have him
So you have him
fourth, so
fourth.
we're not far off.
So we're not up. Well, Bijan Robinson is my 4 guy.
I got him third.
So you just flip him over. Bijan, University of Texas kid, 2nd year, new quarterback with Kirk Cousins, who can throw the ball far and accurate, and will have a great year. So I think Bijan's going to bounce. I think he's going to have a really good year. I think if you can get him in the first couple rounds, I think he'll go in the first top 10. So there you go.
Yep.
And then 5, I'm going against the grain a little bit because during the season last year, I said this guy's going to be a first-round pick. I kept saying it to Casey. I said, don't forget about this guy when the draft. And of course, Casey forgets about him, but he's not here to protect himself, so I can make fun of him. Kyron Williams of the Rams. I mean, last year, do you remember those like monster games he had? I mean, the Rams were just giving the ball touchdowns. I mean, he was doing all this offense last year, and I think he'll just keep it up this year. I mean, he's a year older. He's still under 25, and I mean, this guy's a beast. And I just think he has to be my top tier 5. So there you go. That's my top 5.
All right, I totally get it. Albert Marquand, I'm going to be with you in your question in a second. I don't have Kyron Williams in the top 5. I do have him in the top 10 easily.
Okay. Who's your 5th then?
Well, one piece of news did you hear that he's going to be returning punts? I'm not thrilled about that.
Yeah, but remember, I mean, it's not a huge deal.
It's not as bad as like returning kickoffs, but I still don't love him being on the field for plays.
He must be. I mean, honestly, he must be unbelievable returning punts if they're going to risk him getting hurt like that.
Well, right. I agree, and I will say this, Ross, that doesn't alter my ranking of him at all. I just was noting.
Yeah, I get it.
I have the top 3. I have 3 in the top tier: Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, and Bijan Robinson. I have Jonathan Taylor at 4, starting a new tier. And we're parsing, this is all pretty much the same.
It's all the same players. So keep
my
going.
5th is Jahmyr Gibbs. And he's an injury risk, but I love the reason I had Bijan Robinson higher than Jonathan Taylor is that he's got Kirk Cousins there. I think it's going to be a higher octane offense. And that's what I feel about Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, of course, you got Montgomery there. So there's all kinds of things going on in the Detroit offense. But Gibbs is electric. I have him below those other tiers. Taylor, I could possibly put in the top tier, but I didn't. Let's get to Albert's question, then we'll continue. Okay, he says, I'm already keeping Achane in the 14th round. That's
it's good.
Yeah. Pick one between Gibbs in the 4th, DJ Moore in the 6th, or Flowers in the 12th. That's tough. This is a great fantasy football question.
I would keep Gibbs, 2nd year in the league. Detroit's offense looks great. He'll get more of a workload over Montgomery. He catches the ball too. I like Gibbs in the 4th round. I mean, he's like in a 12-team draft, he's 1st round. In a 10-team draft, he's probably late 1st, early 2nd. I think I rather have the running back in Gibbs. DJ Moore, they have a really good receiving core in Chicago right now.
Yeah.
They have Rome, they have Moore, and they also have Keenan Allen they got him from the Chargers. I mean, they have a really good receiving core in Chicago. So I don't know if he'll be the leading receiver this year. I really don't. We'll see what happens. And I don't trust Baltimore's offense when it comes to catching the ball.
Running backs. That's
different. Oh yeah, Derrick Henry is. Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry's in my top 2nd tier. I mean, he could lead the league in rushing. Actually, I mean, he's that good. But I don't trust Flowers at all. No way.
All right, so Ross, you're making it hard on me to say anything of interest because I completely agree with everything you said.
Oh, good. Okay, I thought DJ Moore. I thought maybe DJ Moore.
No. But let me give my explanation of why. So first of all, you know that we generally value the wide receivers, the elite wide receivers, over the running backs. But Gibbs is a different story if you're getting him in the 4th round. I mean, this guy he's a 1st round pick, at least 2nd round pick. You're getting value. DJ Moore, his likelihood of eclipsing the 6th round value is not actually that high. I mean, at best, you're going to get maybe 4th round value, maybe. And so I just don't see that as something you reach for. I don't trust Baltimore wide receivers. When was the last time a Baltimore wide receiver had a big season? I cannot even remember.
Back in the Johnny Unitas days. Let me tell you, kid, I was but But I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't remember a Colt leading the league. I mean, not a Colt, but a Raven leading the league in receiving. I haven't heard
I
that
mean,
in
I
a long.
can't even remember a really good Ravens receiver.
I
The
guess
last.
Mark Andrews had some good
Well,
seasons
there are some
before he got
tight
hurt.
ends. I mean, Shannon Sharp was good with the
Yeah, I mean, I
Ravens, I
count
think,
tight ends as receivers, but I mean,
but
you're right
but
though.
that
There's
even
no
shows it. So I've never seen it. So I think
no.
it's Gibbs all the way. Okay, Cap for Life says, gentlemen, and then he says, what round have you seen Waddle and McBride go in?
Waddle's been like a shocker. I've been in drafts the past week, like different
People are too down on
drafts.
him.
And no, I like Waddle, and I love
No, I
when
know
Casey
people are
makes the
too down on
impression of
him.
him.
I like him
I mean,
too.
people, he has a big Q next to him when you see him in the draft because I guess he's questionable for the first game, but he's playing. He's not hurt. It's
Like
all
half the
BS.
league is questionable for the
Yeah,
first
it's
game.
all BS. They just want to. They didn't want to play the last game, so they say, "Oh, I have a sore ankle or whatever they want to say." But
Yeah.
Waddle, to me, I would take him in the 4th or 5th round. I love Waddle this year. I love that whole Hill Waddle thing, and I think Waddle's going to get more volume this year, especially. I see him having a really good year, even surpassing some of the number 1 receivers on a lot of other teams. I mean, Waddle's a weapon. 4th round, I take him. McBride, I'm not sold on this guy. I mean, I'd rather have like 4 or 5 other tight ends than McBride. I mean, I get why people like him. He had a great second half, but McBride, 9th, 10th, 11th round. What do you think, Doug? I mean, I know people
Well,
take him
I'm
higher.
higher on we have the same take on Waddle. I'm definitely into him, but and I think that he's undervalued because going into last season he was actually overhyped a little
Yep.
bit, and then it didn't work out so well. Now he's undervalued by a lot.
I think so. Him and what's undervalued is T. Higgins. I mean, T. Higgins. I know he's upset. He wanted a contract and all this stuff,
Well,
but
they're similar. They're the second receiver in a
second
great
receiver with
offense.
studs ahead of them. It's not like they're second receivers with with some no name receiver. But I think T. Higgins is another guy that's very, very undervalued this year in fantasy. You can get him in like the 6th or 7th round. I mean, he's dropping like a rock.
I agree with that. I prefer Waddle to T. Higgins
Me too. Me too.
because of injury risk, but and just performance. But I'm very high on Waddle. So, in terms of seeing what rounds he goes in, it's usually going to end up going like when you're drafting, I often just look at what are the numbers, the rankings, because that's usually where they're going to go. There's a lot of people who just don't know, and they're like, well, this guy was ranked here, I'm going to take him here. So he's going to go around, I would say probably 4th round, but I think that's really appropriate. McBride, if you want to wait until where Ross is going to take him, you're not going to get him, which Ross knows. Ross knows that, right? That's what you're saying. You're like, I'll pass on him because I don't value him.
I'd rather get a top tier quarterback before him. I'd rather get a 2nd tier running back or wide receiver before him. I mean, there's so much options you can go.
No, I would say I like McBride a lot because I think Kyler Murray is a great quarterback to be throwing to him. And I think, if you're looking for tight end value, I actually think you got to jump in a little bit early, so you're not going to get value on him. I would place him at a 7th round pick.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Who rather you have, McBride, Mark Andrews, or Kyle Pitts this year out of those 3?
That's tough. I mean, my gut instinct is to go with Kyle Pitts because I think he's got bigger upside. I think he's in a great offense, and I just trust Kirk Cousins that much.
I agree with you this year. I agree. I wouldn't say that last year, but
definitely not.
And Ritter was actually cut. He was cut from his team. The starting quarterback last year for Atlanta doesn't have a team to play on this year. I mean, I trust Kirk Cousins. That's why I think Pitts also. I think he likes throwing the tight end. Look at Hutchinson last year. Unbelievable year until he got hurt.
I would have gone with Mark Andrews if he wasn't hurt last year. I'm always skittish about a guy who, a big portion last year.
Yeah, I agree. But I like Pitts. It's funny. We both agree, but there you go.
So with McBride, in terms of which round, I think you're going to need to get him in the 7th round of a 12-team league. You're probably not going to. You may not even get him there. And is it worth the reach then? Maybe not. But listen, if tight end it's thin at the top. I say you go get it, but I wouldn't do it certainly before the 6th round. You're losing tons of value doing that. That's my thought. Okay, we got another question. Thoughts on Romeo Doubs, Ross? What say you?
Jordan Love. I mean, talking about a guy that really hit the jackpot. I mean, he signed a huge deal during the preseason about 3 weeks ago. Huge deal, big money for being great for like a half a season, because the first half of the season he wasn't that great. Romeo Doubs is one of his guys. I mean, Watson, Doubs. I mean, he has to have these guys to score touchdowns. Doubs, I would say, you can get him late, 11th, 12th round. I don't see him going that early. No one's saying I got to take Romeo Doubs.
But I think it's a good value.
It's a great value pick. I mean, Doubs is one of the guys that I would definitely take if he's available in the 10th, 11th round. He's a guy that will probably ride your bench a lot unless he's the number one receiver in Green Bay, but he's not somebody I'm going to start every week.
He's a great depth pick, and Christian, Christian Watson, he's just so injury prone. Unfortunately, he's super talented, but
I think he's great. Yeah, I mean, he is, and the Green Bay, everybody's expecting a huge year from Green Bay, and I think they'll be good. I mean, they have a running back I'm going to talk about coming up. So, I mean, the next Raider, but I mean, we'll talk about Green Bay and the running game. But I think Jordan Love's going to have a huge year. I wouldn't mind having him as my starting quarterback in fantasy football.
100%. I think he's a total. He's a total value. Okay, Cap for Life says McBride. Remember, Andrews has to deal with Derrick Henry now and Flowers. I like McBride better than Andrews also myself.
Yeah, I didn't put Andrews in that. Yeah, I mean, I agree.
And I also, by the way, I put McBride over Pitts. I was saying Pitts over Andrews, but I would take McBride over Pitts.
Oh, I wouldn't. I would take Pitts. I don't know why. Something tells me Pitts is going to be a big year.
I know. I'm just a little.
I mean, in fantasy football, you got to take these chances. If you have a gut feeling about somebody, go with your gut.
Well, you should go with your gut.
Don't listen to me.
Because when you hit it, what feels better? What feels better than when you just had a gut instinct and it comes through? It's so much fun.
It's great.
All right, 8th or 9th round. I like the value for Shakur. I think that's a little high for me. What do you think? I am
another value pick. I love Shakur.
I think he's great. A great pick.
I think you can get him later. I mean, I've been drafting.
Well, that's the thing. I think you can get him later.
I've been drafting in 10 to 12 team things, and he's been going after the 10th round. I mean, Shakur.
You can probably get him in the 11th, but I think you can definitely get him in the 10th. I cannot see him going before the 10th.
Yeah, it just depends who's available too. I mean, I like Shakur over a lot of those mediocre receivers. I'd rather have Shakur than over Lockett. I'd rather have Shakur over over the Hopkins for Tennessee. I'd rather have Shakur.
I agree.
There's all those like middle of the road receivers, and I like Shakur is like one of the top ones I like.
Yep. Okay, so I think we're talking about Dobbs here. That a great value pick. Shakur as well. Then Cap for Life says love Jacob's brother. And
bro, I like Jacobs, bro. He likes Jacobs.
I loves Jacob, bro. Okay, I was like, who's Jacob's brother?
No, Jacob. I told you he's the ex-Raider, who had some huge fantasy years in the past before he got hurt.
Massive.
And now Green Bay loves to run that ball. And
where do you have? Let's talk about
AJ Dillon. They just announced he's like out for the year.
Done for the year, right?
I mean,
where do you have? Wow. We're mixing up our tiers a little bit, but where do you have Josh Jacobs?
I have Josh Jacobs. Unfortunately, I put him down in the 3rd tier. I like him a lot, and even if you take
I have him in the 3rd tier as well.
Yeah, I'm in 3rd tier.
Where overall?
I would say 12, 13.
I have him 11. So
11's good. 12, 13. There's a few other guys I like a little better than him, obviously, but I think if you take him as your second running back, I don't think he'll be disappointed. I think one of these.
I think it's a great running back too.
I mean, his ceiling is so high. I mean, he had look at his year 2 years ago.
And he's in a great offense. Great offense.
Great coordinator. Great offense. Very very balanced there. So he should get at least 15 to 20 carries a game.
All right. T. Resner says fins up. And then he says, with all these stud rookies this season, I'm not wasting picks on Shakur when I could be taking flyers on huge upside rookies. What do you think about that, Ross?
Scares me. I always feel the coaches are always fearful of throwing the ball to rookies. My strategy with rookies.
My strategy with rookies usually is let somebody else draft them and then trade for them. Trade for them like 4 or 5 weeks in, because they won't be getting a lot of traction.
I agree. I mean,
I think Shakur is going to have veterans. I think Shakur is going to have a value right from the start, and he's looked pretty good, The best feeling is getting waiver production. I agree. Well, that and draft gems, but I actually agree with that waiver production is even better than the draft gems because you pick it up for nothing. You're like, I got I can't believe I got this for free.
I mean, there's always like last year was Puka was the big draft gem / waiver wire gem,
or Kyron Williams, who you talked about.
Kyron Williams also another gem. So both Rams, but yeah, I agree. I mean, it's finding those gems, and it's sometimes you don't know until week 1 or week 2 because you don't know who's starting, who's not playing, who's not getting the ball.
Yep.
And that's why watching the first couple of weeks, you got to pay attention to all the games, not just your favorite team.
All right, let's get a little bit into that second tier. We jumped into the third tier, both of us together. So we have a little bit different where the second tier starts, but I'm going to list. It's basically the same so far. So I have Gibbs 5th. Then I have Saquon Barkley 6th. I'm not actually a huge Barkley fan, but it's hard to rank him lower than that.
I agree. It's a new offense in the Eagles this year. New coordinator, new offense. Barkley should be catching the ball, running the ball. Again, with him, it's always been a health issue. We'll see what happens.
Yep. By the way, Cap for Life says, no way AJ Dillon is out. I'll have to check Roto World if that's the case. I'm changing my strategy.
He's out
for the year. He's
out. You're talking to Ross the boss.
Change your strategy.
I'm the smartest guy in fantasy football. I know what's going on. Keep going.
All right. Next, after Saquon Barkley, I have Derrick Henry. The guy is an absolute beast. Playing in Baltimore, I trust that he's going to have huge value. I mean, how many touchdowns do you think Derrick Henry is going to score?
I mean, it's good. Lamar Jackson's going to go down in rushing touchdowns. Derrick Henry should have between 10 and 15 touchdowns this year rushing.
Yeah, I'm expecting at least 12 touchdowns.
I mean, this guy is a beast, and they have a great offensive line in Baltimore, and I see him leading the league in rushing. Not leading the league in fantasy points, but leading the league in rushing. I see him if he plays 16, 17 games this year.
And then I have Kyron Williams rounding out that group. Like those top 8 to me are so super strong. I mean, I'd be happy with any one of them as my running back 1. Ross, how about you in your second tier? Who'd I miss?
All the names I loved. I just want to add a couple more guys from the tier. I love Isaiah Pacheco. That guy he went to Rutgers.
I have him in the third tier, and I like him a lot.
Rutgers actually plays tonight against Howard University, and it's so weird they're playing Howard University. It's like Division 20. No idea why Rutgers is doing that, but I guess a money grab. So I like Isaiah Pacheco. Travis Etienne, I like, but I don't love. I don't like that third tier. I don't like that Jacksonville offense. I really don't.
I mean, how can you? Trevor Lawrence has regressed. Trevor
Lawrence has. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with him, but he's been regressing like a great rookie year. Then every other year, it's been horrible. It's like
wasn't his rookie year with Urban Meyer? It seems like it should be the other way around.
100%.
It's so weird. It seems like he should be, getting better. So T. Resner says Derrick Henry will score at least 12 and notes that he's on the same page with me. We're on the same page. Maybe it's because you've got a T. Resner Cleveland reference. I'm a Cleveland guy.
Okay, so with tier 2, I think you covered it. I added a couple more. I sprinkled some in there, but nobody's really I'm not really going to jump and say, oh, you got to put this guy in tier 2. There's nobody that really jumped at me. Kind of covered it pretty well, but tier 3, we still have some good running backs. There's still some good backs that are running back 2s for sure. Do you want to talk about tier 3?
Let's talk about tier 3. Yep. So wait, did you have Etienne in tier 2 or in tier 3?
I had Etienne in tier 2.
I have him in tier 3.
I know you do, and I get why. And I just seen him had so many big games the last couple of years.
He's great. If you're a tier 3 running back, to me, it's more about, it's not necessarily which tier you're in. It's about where is the huge drop off.
Yeah, I know.
Me,
you're right.
The huge drop off for me is after tier 4.
Yep.
After tier 4, you suddenly have a lot more question marks. Like I have 16 running backs that I have basically no questions about. And then after that, it's like, ooh, I don't know. So we'll get into that in a second. We got a couple more comments coming in. Cap for Life says Josh Jacob, great value.
Great value.
And noting Puka and Kyron as waiver wire gems from last year. Absolutely. We got a shout out to you, Ross. Now, T. Resner says this year T-Law has Brian Thomas Jr. Do you think that makes a difference? Obviously, he's a great talent, but Does it make a difference?
I mean, Casey's jumping up and down about this guy. I mean, he's been talking about Brian Thomas. You know, he sounds like that actor Thomas Howard. What's the guy from Soul Man? Thomas Howard.
C. Thomas Howell.
Yeah, for some reason I always think it's C. Thomas Howell when I see his name. I don't know why.
Soul Man.
I love how you got that reference. But I mean, yes, I mean Brian Thomas. Yes, Thomas is a great receiver. I get it, but again, I don't trust. The only one I trust as a rookie receiver is the kid they drafted, Marvin Harrison Jr., who's actually like suing his dad over something he forged his name with. They get some crazy lawsuit.
Is that right? Whoa, that's
like
bad news.
Fantastics, like he supposed to do something for them, and Marvin Harrison Jr. said, "I never signed anything," and his dad like signed for him.
Ooh.
So just Google it. It's like a whole crazy thing going on with him and his dad. But I'm not a big guy with trusting rookie like running backs and receivers that much. I really don't. Quarterbacks I'm fine with. I get it, but I just something I don't know.
So here's a comment in relation to that. Cap for Life says, I agree. I've been burnt so many times by rookies. With that being said, Puka gave me a chance to make the playoffs. So I totally agree with you. Ross agrees with you. One thing to say though is, where did you get Puka? You know, you got to pick up that rookie wide receiver late, as opposed to
or maybe got him waiver wire. Maybe you picked him up, during his first or second game when he had like 200 yards receiving. Who knows what Who knows?
I mean, my prediction for Brian Thomas Jr. is that we're going to end up with him being a really back end receiver coming into the draft next year, because he's a rookie now and he's on the Jaguars, and I just don't think he's going to do that much.
I say week 5 he'll be available in every waiver wire you can imagine.
I think it's very possible.
Just throwing it out there.
I'd be very careful to pick him heavily.
But I say he'll be available, and you'll be like, okay, Ross, I'm going to take a chance on him now. Like, go ahead. I don't want him.
All right, Jackson Smith and Njigba. What round, Ross?
Who are we talking about now?
Jackson Smith Njigba.
Oh, Njigba, the Seattle receiver, Ohio State kid. He's another one of these mid-level guys, 10th, 11th round, 12th even maybe. I think Seattle's being way undervalued. People have them not making the playoffs. I have Seattle not winning the division, but I have them going to the playoffs. I think Seattle will surprise some people this year.
Mm-hmm.
I like Walker, the running back. I like Metcalf, of course. Lockett's getting old in the tooth, but I feel Njigba. I think this guy's going to have a good year. I think he's
undervalued.
Yeah,
but what round? Let's say
12th round. 12th round.
12th round sounds about right to me. But there's going to be a lot of good picks then. So but I think he's got a lot of upside. Okay, we've got Cap for Life says it was Fanatics.
Fanatics. Yeah.
Okay, so waiver for Puka, that's where you got him. I mean, what would be better than that? Okay, now T. Resner says, I'm the opposite. I never trust rookie QBs. I trust rookie wide receivers the most, and rookie running backs to a lesser extent. And it's usually when the starting running back gets hurt. So that's interesting. I rank rookie running backs way above all other rookies because they can come in and make a difference right away. Rookie wide receivers, I start to value more as the season goes on, but it's not really till like week 8 that I start trusting them. I do not trust rookies.
I haven't trusted a rookie tight end since Mike Ditka played football, and he was a rookie. Remember those?
What about Mini Ditka? Do you remember those?
Since Mini Ditka, no, but there hasn't been any big tight ends rookies that have huge years. If you look, let me
make a distinction here, though. I'm not saying I trust rookie quarterbacks. I don't trust them either. The only rookies that I trust in football are running backs, and then wide receivers in the second half of the season. I don't usually even trust rookie quarterbacks until the second half of the season. So if you're comparing rookie quarterbacks to rookie wide receivers, I'm completely with you. I'd rather have the wide receiver.
Yeah,
but I'm not.
This year's an exception. I mean, we got Jalen. We got some really good quarterbacks.
Well, listen, no, you do. And last year, look what CJ Stroud did. I mean,
yeah,
you can have some really great rookies. Okay. Yeah. Jeremy Shockey was a good rookie tight end, LOL. So I think the LOL is partly referencing the fact that it was a long time ago. But what's his name for the Lions last year?
University of Miami, right? Shockey, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, again, tight ends, just like Brock Bowers of the Raiders. I mean, people are drafting him. I get it. I mean, he was unbelievable in college, University of Georgia kid. But
the most recent one is Laporta. I mean, Laporta was a monster. You know,
When was he a rookie? Last year or the year before?
it was last year.
He was a rookie last year. He had a great
Yep.
year. So
He had a
there you go.
fantastic year.
So
I mean, going into the year, I didn't rank him high because I just don't take tight ends as rookies. And
no,
look,
Laporta's
there
a
is
good
the
example.
exception.
I mean, I have him
So,
over Kelsey this year. So there you go.
I have him as the number 1 tight end.
Yeah, me too.
It's easy for me. Chris Atwater's noting Laporta is good. T. Resner saying Laporta was phenomenal. And Cap for Life says that's a good one, Christopher. Absolutely. So, you know, there's always going to be exceptions, and you got to decide where to take the risk. But let's jump back to the running back tiers. Did we miss anybody?
Tier 3, I'm good.
We didn't mention Devon Achane yet. I have him in the 3rd tier. Now that may be.
I have him in the 3rd tier also. I dropped him.
Well,
I'm worried about injury risk, and I think most.
That's funny you said you dropped. It's funny you said you dropped him to the 3rd tier because to me, even though he's got that huge upside, the risk is so high that I couldn't put him up with somebody like Derrick Henry or Kyron Williams. It did not feel in the same tier. I did have him at the top of the 3rd tier because he's got by far the most upside of anybody. Although I guess Josh Jacobs also does. So I have Achane, Etienne, Jacobs, and Pacheco. Then we drop to the 4th tier for me.
Hold on. Let me just give you another guy I have in the 3rd tier just because of volume, and he had a great year last year, and he went to an unbelievable university, Arizona State, is Rachaad White. I have him. Tampa Bay is going to run the ball, and his backup.
He's so undervalued.
I love Bucky Irving too. His backup I love too. Bucky Irving, what a great name. Yep. But I think White really proved himself to be like at least tier 3 guy just because of the amount of handoffs he gets. And you know, in the red zone, he gets the ball a lot too. They'll throw to him also.
That's really fair, actually. When you think about it, Ross, how different is Rachaad White from Travis Etienne?
I rather have. I mean, Rachaad White again. I mean, if he was my running back too, I'd be happy. It'd be great.
I'd be very happy with anybody in this tier as my running back too. Anyway, T. Resner obviously is a Dolphins fan. He says, "Fins up, baby." Achane tier 1, and then he did note, "I'm being a homer." I love that. He says Rachaad White quietly finishing running back 7 last season. It was nice owning him. Absolutely. I mean, this guy. That's why I'm saying, like, is there really any difference between Travis Etienne and Rachaad White? No. If there is a difference, that you can get Rachaad White at a better value.
Yeah.
And I would predict him to outperform Etienne. It's close, but all right. Moving into the rest of that tier, I said to you, Ross, there's 16 running backs that I see a big drop off afterwards. Okay, so
big drop off.
I've got James Cook at 13. I love James Cook. I think he's going to be. And listen, his value is a little bit depressed because he did not get a lot of touchdowns. But he was doing a lot of stuff on the field, and his numbers look great otherwise. And he's in a great offense. And we know that Josh Allen doesn't have the receiving guys that he usually has. So I think Cook's going to be relied on more heavily. I have Joe Mixon next. Joe Mixon in that Houston offense, I want any part of it I can get. It's a complete delight. And Mixon is going to get a huge amount of carries. Then Rachaad White. The only guy that I have a little bit of a question about is Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, I like him a lot.
Yep.
I like him a lot, but, you know, he's got some injury risk and he's got Charbonnet behind him. So he's still in that tier for me, but he's at the bottom of that. And after that, there's a big drop-off.
Big drop-off. So I love James Conner. He's in my 3rd tier. I just, you know, again, if you get James Conner, you better get Trey Benson as your handcuff because every year Connor gets hurt. It's like every year he gets hurt for 3 or 4 weeks and he keeps back. Mm-hmm. But if Connor's healthy and with that offense in Arizona, what they have brewing there with Murray healthy and looking unbelievable like he did the last few games last year, I like Connor. I think he'll get a touchdown. I think it's 60, 70 yards a game. I don't think that's a bad person to have as your running back too. I gave up on Alvin Kamara. I'm not taking him in any leagues. I just think he's a step slower. I mean, I don't know if you watched any Saints games, but if I'm flipping around or if I'm watching Red Zone, which I love to watch during the season, he's a step slower. He looks like a fat linebacker running. I mean, he's not. I always feel he's like out of shape. He doesn't look like the guy that would catch the ball and run the ball off 80 yards 5 years ago.
He definitely doesn't look the same. His stats were pretty good last year, but I just don't trust it. And Chris Atwater is a Saints fan, so maybe he'll weigh in on this. But
I don't know what to think. These are players I don't know what to think. So they're not. I'm not putting the tier, but I'll just tell you. Like,
well, I mean, I have Alvin Kamara 31st in my rank.
Aaron Jones in Minnesota. I just see him having a horrible year, and I know people like him.
I like Aaron Jones as a runner, but I don't like the Vikings team,
no, not with Sam Darnold as your quarterback.
And then, with the kind of running back Aaron Jones is on that team, I had to bring him way down.
That's what I did. And Stevenson for the Patriots. The Stevenson for the Patriots. I feel the Patriots offensive line is so bad, and they're not even starting May. They're starting Brissett.
I mean,
the Patriots. That's how scared they are of May getting hurt. They don't want.
I'll be taking no Patriots in this.
Oh, let me write down no Patriots in draft tonight.
Where do you have? So Ramondre Stevenson, I have him ranked 38th,
off the
38th in running backs. Except I would never even take him there.
No, I just certain times you just got to throw people out, like Kamara and Stevenson out, Jones out. These guys are. I'm not drafting. So
again, I mean, when you see that their value. When you see that their value is ahead of where you would be willing to draft them, you're just not going to get them, and it doesn't matter, and you don't want them anyway.
Yeah, just take this. Tell people that you don't want on your team or you don't think is going to have good years. Just don't even have them on your list.
All right. Chris Atwater has he's been talking up Kamani Vidal for a while. He says as a late round flyer.
Vidal, this guy would be lucky to see the field. What are you talking about, Vidal? They have 3 running backs. Gus Edwards.
I mean, how long is Dobbins going to last?
That's a great question. I agree, and Harbaugh loves to run the ball. He's not a passing.
I mean,
coach.
I think it is. I think he is a good late round flyer, and I actually think you probably even agree with that. But you also are making what I think is a valid point that it also is. It's a bit of a road to get him there. I mean, a late and Chris said a late round flyer, so I think he's got the right idea.
We'll see.
All right.
And he went to a pretty good school too. I get it. It's fine.
Achane or Henry?
Henry.
I'm Henry all the way on that.
Henry.
I'm curious to know what Cap for Life thinks about that. Okay, he says White is a phenomenal value, so undervalued. The job is his. Completely agree. Josh Jacob and White is a good draft. Yeah, that would be great. All right, let's see. T. Resner says same. I'm done with Kamara too. So we're all on the same page.
I think everybody is in the fantasy. I mean, you'll see some morons take them, and then you'll see Kamara on waiver wire by week 7 or 8.
Here's what the Saints fan says. I'll stick with Kamara as a fan, but not drafting him unless he falls deep. Yeah, and I don't even know if I would draft him if he falls deep now.
I think they still have Jamal Williams as their backup, who no one's drafting at all. I'd rather have Jamal Williams than Kamara. How about that? Take that, Saint fan.
I very much I understand that, and actually, sorry, who's the young running back on their team? He's on IR right now.
Yeah, Miller.
Yes, Kendra Miller. So. I probably would rather have him of any Saints running back. I'd rather just draft him late and stash him. But I'm not super into any of those running backs.
Now, I think Derek Carr, because remember the Saints, he's probably the biggest whiner in the NFL. I mean, I've never seen a guy, him and LeBron James of the Lakers are the biggest whiners I've ever seen. I mean, I don't get it. Like, he blames everybody but himself, Derek Carr. So there you go. That's my little Derek Carr rant I have.
And you got a little jab at LeBron in there. I noticed that.
Oh yeah.
I still love LeBron. So,
he banded your town, Cleveland, but you still love him, which is nice to see. But well,
he came back and won us a championship. I mean, if I don't know why anybody would have a problem with LeBron James in Cleveland. I don't think anybody does.
And he gives that school that he gives all the money to. He's a very charity wise. He can as a school in Akron that he gives all this money to, and all the kids are on scholarship. And it's like it's a beautiful place. I mean,
he's very thoughtful about a lot of things.
No, it's great. Very, very respectful.
So T. Resner says, and this I know you'll disagree with, Ross, but he says Keenan Allen even worse, and he's saying even worse than Kamara. You like Keenan Allen going into this year. I don't. I liked him last year, but I do not trust the Bears.
I'll just predict it now. I think he'll be Williams' favorite target in Chicago this year. I'm Ross the Boss.
I could see it.
Quote me on that.
I mean, I'm not. I don't know how good Williams is going to do, but we'll have to see.
I think he'll do. I mean, I don't know if you want. They didn't lose a game in preseason. They looked unbelievable.
Oh, I don't trust preseason at all.
They're the 85 Bears right now. They were playing unbelievable with the Bears. I mean,
preseason doesn't mean anything. Preseason doesn't mean anything except for
Really, I
individual
can't believe that. Yeah, I
except for
agree.
individual performances. But Chris Atwater says, can't disagree with Ross on Carr. I'm not super excited about him at the helm. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely understand that. Okay,
Lines.
what's your thoughts about the running back situation in Minnesota? If I would
To
rather
Ty
get,
Chandler. I mean, I
I
like
would
Ty
rather get
Chandler.
Ty Chandler late.
Yeah, we like Ty Chandler, but Jones. It's you know what? You're going to put 9 people in the box. You're going to force them to pass the ball because they don't trust Sam Donald, and he's going to make mistakes. So I'm worried about Justin Jefferson too. I would not take him in the top 10, but that's me. It's fine.
Yeah, and Jordan Addison is pretty.
I don't know.
Maybe I would take him late, but it's that whole team.
I like Addison, but
I like him as a player, but I don't like
I'm
what
worried
Minnesota
about
has going on.
Minnesota this year. We'll see what happens.
T. Resner says 0% Aaron Jones shares. You won't regret it. I think that's probably right. I'm with you on that. No Patriots, Broncos, Giants, Steelers, or Panthers. Thank me later.
Oh my!
I'm looking at that list. Let's see. Can we find anybody in there that we would?
Yeah, I like Malik Naylor for the Giants, the receiver they drafted at LSU. I like him a lot. Steelers, 100% right. Panthers, 100% right. Broncos, oof. I like Williams. I like the running back.
I don't.
He's healthy there. I think he's going to have a good year. Their offensive line's pretty good.
I mean, he's never stayed healthy.
I like their number one receiver. It's Jerry Jeudy went to Cleveland. Their number one receiver is who's their number one receiver in?
I'm blanking on it. I have to.
No, he's good.
Not even
Jeudy. Whoever it is, I like that guy. Whoever it is, I forgot. And Patriots 100%. No Patriots at all.
I'm going to look up number one receiver in Denver. It's amazing that I actually have to look this up. Now, it could be that I'm just forgetting.
We're doing running back.
Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, I like Cortland Sutton. I think he'll get over 80 receptions. I like.
I mean, I basically agree with this list except for Malik Naylor. But Jonathan Brooks I might take as a late round flyer, but I do not want any part of the Panthers
He's not even
off.
playing. I mean,
I know. Well, just stash him.
Okay, let's finish the tiers.
Let's finish the tiers. Okay, so now let's get into this. Is the part of the running back tiers where I think you can have some big upside, but you've got a lot of question marks. I'm going to run through a couple of them.
Do it.
Raheem Mostert. I mean, we know he scored 18 touchdowns, and that's huge. That's huge upside, but he's got injury risk. He's sharing the field with Achane. He got a lot of those touchdowns when Achane was injured. So there's a lot of question marks there. David Montgomery, another one. Sharing the field with Gibbs and a lot of mouths to feed in Detroit. And I do value him, but not that highly. Then there's my favorite guy. Ready? DeAndre Swift. He had to fit somewhere, and I think he's in this tier. I'll also add Zamir White is a guy that I like targeting late.
Vegas Raider, yep.
Tajay Spears, another guy that I like here.
Spears or Pollard? Who do you like better, Spears or Pollard?
I like Spears better than Pollard.
See, I'm the opposite. I like Pollard better than Spears. Maybe the audience. I just think Pollard didn't have a good year last year in Dallas. The year before he was really good. I think a different scenery, different place. And I just feel he's going to have a better year this year in Tennessee. I don't know. I just had one of these Ross the Boss feelings. That's all.
All right. T. Resner is noting that they have 1.5 running backs ahead of Vidal. That's very well said. The 1.5 because Dobbins is a half. Here's a question. What about the Cleveland situation? We haven't talked about that in terms of running. Where do you take Nick Chubb in this draft?
So Nick Chubb, I like Nick Chubb. I think if you take Nick Chubb, you got to take Ford. I think Ford, University of Cincinnati kid, had a great year last year. He was playing great football last year. I like Ford, late round. I don't think he'll go that early, but Chubb, they're predicting he'll be back by week 6, week 5, week 7.
I think it's not a bad strategy to take Ford late and Chubb late. Just take them both.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I like Chubb. I feel he's running. I mean, he's running. He's doing a few drills here and there. He's not doing any contact right now, but I mean, he wants to play. I mean, he wants to get there and play. They're just taking it very slow with him. And I get it. He had a major surgery, but I think he comes back, and I think it's a guy that you can get him in the late rounds, 11, 12, 13. I think it's totally worth it. I agree 100%.
So here's why I like Spears better than Pollard. Spears has upside. I just think Pollard doesn't have nearly as much upside. Spears has looked really good. If you watched him play, he looked really good. So
I mean,
I'm pretty high.
Brittany did look good. I agree with you. She's been working on her body and everything else. Spears, Brittany Spears has been great.
But look
I'm
at
not
this prediction. Pollard going to have 2,000 years from scrimmage this year.
2,000 yards.
Yards. Wow. He says, take it to the bank. Man, you know what? We all got to make some.
I like
wild
Pollard. He's a great late, like we said. You got to take some guys late to ride your bench, and Pollard would be. I would take him in a second. Trust me.
Yeah, I wouldn't take him for 2,000 yards, though. I love bold predictions, and we got to do some of them. T. Resner says Ford is surprisingly super talented, in my opinion. I agree, but some of that is that I can't believe I'm saying this because the Browns are so bungling usually, but they know how to run the ball, with Kevin Stefanski. I'd be happy to have running back.
It's run first in Cleveland. We know that. And Dan, you live in Cleveland. You see it every day. I mean, that's what they do. And I mean, Ford can catch the ball. He can run the ball. I like the kid. And I again, if I can get him late, I would take him. It'd be a great guy for my bench. I wouldn't start him immediately, but depends on who they're facing. But I think Ford is somebody that I would draft.
All right, I agree, and I have Ford in this tier also. One other guy that I want to mention, actually two other guys I want to mention here. Chase Brown. So you're a Bengals fan. I feel like he's the dark horse. Not even the dark horse. He's the sleeper in that.
Well, they're going to share handoffs. Coach Taylor mentioned it's going to be him and Moss are going to share. Are going to share the load. I think Chase Brown has such a better upside than Zach Moss. I love Chase Brown. I think he's going to get 10 to 15 handoffs a game, and I think he'll be the guy you'll see at the goal line. So it'd be interesting what happens in Cincinnati, but I think Chase Brown will have the job by week 6 or 7. I think he'll get the majority of the handoffs.
Yeah, so I would look for him late. The other guy that I like in this tier is Gus Edwards. I think of those backs, I mean, it's a Harbaugh offense. He doesn't get injured as much, certainly not as much as Dobbins. He's a touchdown machine.
Yeah,
I like Gus Edwards a lot here. And then after that, there's another big drop off as far as I'm concerned. But let me hear where you see it.
So Najee Harris, Pittsburgh, who runs the ball. I know he hasn't been having great years, but you got to take a Steeler somewhere to run the ball. I like him over
Somebody
Warren.
has to, but I don't.
I have him over Warren. I just think Najee's going to have a pretty good year. I think Pittsburgh will do pretty well this year. Russell Wilson's our starting quarterback. I think having Najee on the bench, I don't know if I would start him, but it wouldn't be a bad guy to come in during bye weeks.
He feels like the Romeo Doubs of running backs, except I like Romeo Doubs more.
But we can move on to the next tier.
All right. Meanwhile, we got some Dolphins fans here. Charmaine Taylor's talking about the Dolphins. T. Resner says Fins up. So then T. Resner did say somebody has to take Najee, and it ain't me. LOL. I'm right there with you. This is the same with me.
I'm not starting him. I would take him to ride my bench.
All right. So Ross, you're getting a question directly to you. Do you like Zamir White or Jerome Ford better?
Good question. Just my own gut, I like Jerome Ford better.
I agree. I mean, the Cleveland like running game.
Yeah.
The Cleveland running, but I do like them both. Okay, Ross, let's talk about who we missed in this tier. If you have anybody to add, or
I don't want to talk about. I mean, okay, I'll say somebody else I like, and I'll just say it just because last year or the year before, he was a first-round pick, and now he's on a new team, new place, rookie quarterback, and he's healthy. Is Austin Eckler, and why the big drop? Yeah, I mean, I like Austin Eckler. I would draft him. I might even start him because I'm crazy, but I think Austin Eckler could be comeback player of the year.
I have him right below Gus Edwards, and I think he's got huge upside.
But I think no one's talking about Austin Eckler. No one talks about him, and I just got to tell you, 2 years ago you were drafting him. I mean, in the first round.
In the first round,
I have evidence of that. Let Greg play the tape of him drafting him. It's hilarious.
Right.
But
all right,
okay, go ahead.
Well, do you want to move to sleepers, busts, and value picks?
Yes.
Let's do that. Okay. So name a sleeper or two that either that we haven't mentioned, or even if we have mentioned them, just that we haven't talked up enough.
So sleepers, I'll give you a few. Chuba Hubbard. I love saying that name. I know he plays on a horrible team in Carolina. He'll get a big percentage of the handoffs. Carolina's line's not that bad. I'm not a big fan of their offensive coordinator or their quarterback, Bryce Young, but I think Chuba Hubbard will have some good games. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He'll probably have 20 carries a game. I mean, he'll have some high volume stuff. And, Carolina is going to be bad, but it doesn't matter if they win or lose. It's all that matters is the stats.
The thing I worry about with him is just the touchdowns. Because, I mean, even if he gets 20 carries, I mean, if he gets 20 carries and maybe 70 yards, but no touchdowns, I'm just not that excited about it.
Devon Singletary of the Giants. The Giants, as we know, is a running game team, and he's like the only running back I kind of know on the depth chart right now. So Devon Singletary, late pick. He'll get volume. Again, another guy that's going to get some handoffs. I love this guy. Last year he was injured because he didn't he like get shot in the ass or something. It's Brian Robinson of the
that's right.
Of the
directly talks.
Yeah, and I remember he was like shot, attempted robbery, and it was like horrible. I was so high on this guy.
I think wasn't he just a bystander? Like
I thought he was being carjacked. I can't remember what was going on.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe it was a carjacking, but maybe our resident.
I just knew, as I remember, he didn't like put himself in some dangerous situation.
He went to Alabama, so we have a guy who's an expert on Alabama players that watches our show periodically.
That's right. Shout out to you.
I like Brian Robinson also as a sleeper. I feel he'll have a pretty good year for the Commanders if he's healthy, which he will be. So those are some of my sleepers.
All right, I'm going to mention a couple, but this is a reference to Austin Eckler. Heck, he was going first round last year too. Absolutely. So he's got a lot of upside. I'm going to mention 3 sleepers. These are very, very late stabs. But
I'll say yay or nay. Go.
Okay. These are all basically very similar type of players because what they are is they are the backup running backs in situations that I really like, and they're talented runners themselves. Zach Charbonnet is one.
UCLA kid. I like it. Keep going.
Tyler Algier is another. If something happens to Bijan
University
Robinson,
Utah, he's the backup in Atlanta. I love that pick, and he was 1,000-yard rusher 2 years ago. I mean,
that's right.
This guy has talent. I mean, I agree. The great pick so far, 2 for 2.
All right, and the other guy is Blake Corum. I mean,
Blake Corum, Michigan kid. I love this. I love these picks.
Okay, well, there you go. Those are my sleepers that we haven't mentioned so far. You can get them all for nothing at the end of the draft, and I would take probably just one of them. I don't think you're gonna have room to stash 2 of them, but grab one of them because
another one you missed, Trey Benson of the Cardinals.
That's a good that's a good
pick.
The
only reason why is Connor, as I mentioned, Connor goes down every year. As much as I love him, he gets
also
hurt.
I mean, the Arizona offense is pretty good. Trey Benson's great.
I saw him in college. He was great. I mean, this guy can run. He's faster than flat to the bone Casey Scheinfeld. Trust me.
Yep.
And I like this kid. So yeah,
T-Rez is liking our picks, and he definitely liked your addition of Benson. And I agree. Benson is right there with those others as far as I'm concerned.
So those are late picks. You get these guys in the last round, second to last round. These guys are guys that are going to be around in the 10-team league, especially.
Yeah, I mean, Chase Brown is a sleeper that I had further up, but I wanted to mention these guys. Let's talk about busts. Who do you have as a bust pick?
Miles Sanders, who you traded for me last year. I got totally ripped off.
I'm
Sanders,
so sorry,
Carolina. I'll get you back. Don't worry. Another bust pick, Antonio Gibson of New England. I know people don't think so high of him, but I don't see him doing anything in New England. Just don't even have him on your list.
Well, that's how I feel about Stevenson also, who's even ranked higher, but I have them both as busts.
Zeke Elliott, I'll say, is going to be a bust. I just think he's older. The Dallas offensive line isn't what it used to be. I'm worried about Zeke a lot. I think Rico could get that job. I don't know why they would sign a running back that's lost a step. Unfortunately, he has. Just too many injuries, and I'll give you a name that I think is going to be a huge bust. I wrote it down somewhere. Huge bust for me. The biggest bust I feel is going to be Joe Mixon of Houston.
Really? All right. I don't have that, but I understand.
I say another the boss prediction. Joe Mixon will be the second string running back, and Pierce will get his job back as the starting running back in Houston. You heard it from me first, Ross.
I could see it happening. I don't predict it.
I'm just
Cap for
telling you.
Life.
I mean,
Cap for
I
Life
had to
says
watch
great show,
him
guys.
with the Bengals, and he just had 2 big games, and that was it. The rest of the time he was like invisible. Horrible.
It's true, but I really like that Texans offense, and I think he'll stick in it. So Cap for Life says great show, guys. Take care and stay
Thanks for
safe,
watching.
everyone. Good night. Thank you for
Remember,
watching.
we have our draft tonight. We have our draft at 4:15 Pacific, 7:15 Eastern. Well, you'll see us draft against other people on our channel. It's going to be great. I'm excited. And you know what, I did Dr. Dan for the first time, because last year I couldn't draft and I couldn't be online at the same time for some stupid reason. So I did it. So it's auto draft. I did the order. I'm ready to roll.
Oh, nice. You're ready in case something happens.
So I'm just going to auto draft the whole thing and see what happens. It'll be fun.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, we'll see how it goes. T. Resner says, I can't agree with the Joe Mixon take. I'm in agreement with T. Resner on this, but T. Resner wants me to talk to him about Chase Brown. He wants me to go in depth because he doesn't see why Chase Brown should be a sleeper. So here's the thing about Chase Brown. Unlike Charbonnet, Corum, Algier, and Benson, who I'm picking based on talent and situation, I'm picking Chase Brown almost purely on situation. I mean, the Bengals have a great offense, and Zach Moss is not that good of a runner and doesn't stay healthy. So I'm not saying he's gonna be the greatest running back, but I think he's gonna have a much bigger role than people expect. So my argument to you isn't that Chase Brown is the greatest running back of all time, but that I think he's a sleeper pick to get, I would say, over 1,000 yards and probably 7 touchdowns. I mean, if you can get that late in the draft, that's a value. So let's see.
A huge value. I mean, you can start. You could be a running back 2 or a flex pick. That's a great one. I'm hoping he does that, because if that happens, the chain I'm wearing, the Bengal chain, they'll be a Super Bowl contender.
Now I'm obligated to say this, but my bust pick is DeAndre Swift is one of them. I have to say it. It's just the way it is. But mostly because of injury. I have nothing against this guy. I really don't. I just didn't like that. I should draft Herbert as one of the cuffs. Okay, I'll draft Herbert. I'm not a huge fan of the Bears in general, actually, going into
this year. You're not jumping on the Bears bandwagon this year?
Yet.
They're all talking Super Bowl. They're all talking, them and the Jets are like the biggest talkers right now.
I think both teams are going to be terrible. Here's another bust pick is Kenneth Walker.
The second or third, which one?
I'm gonna pick the third, isn't he?
Okay. Yeah. I thought maybe the second or maybe the first is still around. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, you can get them for extreme value, but I like Kenneth Walker a lot. But he's an injury risk, and he hasn't shown.
I like Kenneth Walker. People are undervaluing Seattle. I'm not undervaluing the I'm not going to say what people call them when they're bad, but I'm not undervaluing the Seahawks at all. By the way, I think they'll be pretty good.
I agree. And by the way, when we're talking busts, these are basically hot takes, T. Resner. I'm not saying he's going to bust or that I'm betting he's going to bust. I'm saying he's a risk to bust. Okay. I don't think any of these guys are definitely going to bust. I mean, if I want
these are predictions. What are we? If I can definitely say definitely and end my sentences, I'll be in Vegas betting. Trust me.
I mean, Kenneth Walker, I think he's a great running back, and I hope he does great. But I'm just saying there's more risk there. That's what I'm saying. So value pick. The
only for sure bet that I told Dr. Dan Radner, and he's made millions of dollars on my bets, trust me, is when Dalton, the quarterback, is playing Monday night or Sunday night. You bet against him. And Dan mortgaged his house, flew to Vegas, bet against Dalton, and he came back a winner. I mean, that's a kind of trust he has in me. It's unbelievable.
That's the story Ross tells, and it doesn't stay in Vegas. It's interesting. I did have as one of my main value picks was Austin Eckler. I think that was a great call.
I just again, he's going to play on a team where they're going to run the ball a lot. They're not going to trust. They're not going to trust their rookie quarterback to throw the ball all the time. So somebody has to get the ball.
Yep. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up for today, but I hope you enjoyed the running back preview that we just gave. We've gone through the whole preview of the drafts. Hopefully you are ready for your draft if you haven't drafted already. And if you have drafted already, hope it has worked out for you. We're looking forward to the start of the season. We will have our draft tonight in just 2 hours and 15 minutes. Yeah. And Ross and I will be on. We're hoping Casey can join us, but it looks like he's probably not going to be able to for this one. Casey and I are running a team together anyway. So I'm going to draft for us, and he's going to have to live with it. I don't know.
Yeah, when you pick all Browns, it's gonna be the greatest thing. I can't wait.
Yep. All right. T. Resner says, have a good day. Have a good day. Thanks for joining us here and all your questions. T. Resner, Cap for Life, all you guys who have asked all those questions. Chris Atwater, as usual. We really appreciate it. We will be back next week to start talking about that first game of the season and what to do in terms of strategy heading into the season. We'll be talking trade value and all that kind of stuff. People will be showing off who they got in their draft, and we'll talk about all that. But come watch us for the draft tonight. It's 7:15 p.m. Eastern, and that's 4:15 p.m. Pacific. Ross, looking forward to seeing you then, and thanks for joining me here tonight. This was awesome. All right, more to come.